Hey, and welcome back to Love Restored. I am your favorite host, Marshaun Olaniyan. I am a shift relationship strategist. You are listening to The Brownstone, and this is Love Restored. So, for the next 30 minutes, I want you to come on in, invite your friends, tell everybody, share this with the people that you know need to hear it because we're talking about relationships, and specifically, we're talking about failed relationships. We're talking about the lessons. What lessons can we learn from our failed relationships? Now, before I jump into uh, the lessons that we can learn from our failed relationships, let's talk about Love Restored and why I decided to start Love Restored. I decided to start Love Restored because, like many of you out there, I didn't get the tips, tools, or strategies in order to be able to attract, choose, make a clear decision on romantic relationships. I literally was going nilly-willy with the man that was showing up, showing me some attention. I didn't have any real clear thoughts because I also suffer from low self-esteem. I suffer from low confidence, and coupled with low self-esteem and low confidence, on this side I also had no tips, tools, and strategies from my parents when it came to romantic relationships. And so I had to figure all of these things out on my own. Well, I got tired of trying to figure out these things out on my own. And so I took myself out of the dating stage for 2 whole years. Now, that is after I spent 14 plus years of a freaking roller coaster, up and down, up and down. Now, mind you, I wasn't dating that entire time, but those 14 years was dating, and then that wouldn't work out, and maybe a couple months would go by, and then I was dating again, and that wouldn't work out, and a couple months would go by, and this happened for 14 freaking years. And one day I got tired and said, Marshaun, you are the only common denominator in all of these relationships. And so if it's not working out, sis, you may be doing something. Sis, figure out what you're doing because you're not a bad person. You bring a lot to the table. So for the relationship not to go the distance or to not get to the next level, there must be something that you're doing because you are the only person that consistently is in each of these relationships. I was the only common denominator. And so because of that, because I got tired of bumping my own head, and once I figured out this thing, now it's time for me to impart the information that I learned so you don't have to experience the things that I experienced, i.e., a divorce. I wanted to break that generational curse within my family, and I did not do it. But if I can help you not to go down that road, even if you have been divorced before, if I can help you not to get divorced again or a third time or to choose better by working on you, then this is why I'm here. I've actually fulfilled my purpose here on life. I fulfilled my purpose. And so that's why I started Love Restored. I also specifically decided to work with Black women because we know that we have started behind. Now, we know our history. I'm not giving you a history lesson here. Just think about all of the things that occurred in order for us to be in here in this moment. Our ancestors, all of the things that they went through in order for me to be able to come here and speak freely to you. So, because of all of that, I want to pay homage and also let us know that we can do better if we know what to do. A lot of us still don't know what to do. We don't know what questions to ask. We don't know how to show up on dates. We don't know what the requirements which should be. We don't know how many questions to ask. Like it's a lot of things that goes into creating and attracting a high value man. You have to become a high value woman in order to attract a high value man. You have to know what and who you are before you can attract a high value man. You must be able to understand why your root cause, why these things are showing up in your life, and then be able to articulate them when or if you must. You must be able to recognize the red flags and be able to say, nope, not today. Been there, done that, not doing that anymore. And you must be able to learn the lesson. Because here's the thing, if you think about your relationships, there may be a pattern. The pattern may be that you were attracting and or still attracting the same type of man into your life. He looks different. He may be dressed a little bit different, but his treatment is the same. All of the men that you have dated may be emotionally unavailable. All of the men that you have dated may have cheated on you. Like there is a pattern, and it's because you did not learn the lesson. And so I want to come here today and impart some lessons that I believe to be very, very important that is going to help you to reach the next level in your life. So let's jump into the first lesson. What are some lessons that we can learn from our failed relationships? The first one is recognizing the relationship patterns, as I just mentioned, right? Didn't say that, but that's exactly what it was. You're noticing that you are dating only cheaters, or you're dating some man with some type of addiction. It could be, it doesn't matter what the addiction is, but he has some type of addiction. It could be addiction to video games. It could be addiction to porn. It could be addiction to alcohol. It could be addiction to drugs, but he has some type of addiction. You keep attracting men with these addictions. Again, the cheaters, right? You could be attracting men that have they seem to have it together on the outside, but on the inside, they're emotional, their EQ is horrible. So there may be a pattern that you can recognize, but you have to slow down and be able to recognize said patterns. You have to be able to reflect on not just one relationship, not two relationships, but as many relationships that you can remember so you can recognize what the patterns are. Because this is going to help you to break said cycle later on. You can only break said cycle when you know what it is that you're trying to break. So we have to slow down and recognize these horrible relationship patterns. And I'm not just saying recognize only his stuff, recognize your own stuff. What toxic stuff are you bringing to the relationship that you need to work on? Maybe it's yelling all the time. Who wants to be yelled at all the time? Nobody. None of us are children. And we all hate it when another adult yells at us like we are a child. So just imagine if you are the person that yells all the time, and you're the person that yells all the time to your partner or spouse. Do you think that they are feeling more attracted to you or repelled from you because of this pattern? What other toxic behaviors are you bringing to the relationship? Maybe you are the unemotionally available person, but do you even know what that means? Right? So sitting down and taking time to reflect on what it is that happened in your relationship so you can learn from it, so you can stop repeating these behaviors over and over again. The second lesson that you could learn from a failed relationship is reclaiming your independence. See, a lot of times when we're in our relationships, we are coupled up, we really identify or have an identity in our lives with the other person. Maybe you don't want to make a move without the other person. Well, when the relationship breaks up or quote unquote fails, now you can rediscover your own independence. Who are you? Now, this is one of the things that I really had to work on. Who was I? Because I was so used to growing up in a household full of people. I come from a family of 7 children, and I was always around people. I was always around my first cousins and my aunties. We would always have like cookouts and birthday parties and sleepovers and stuff. So I was always around people. And then when I turned 18, I decided to join the United States Navy. And I was always around people from boot camp. And then I lived on a ship. So I was always around people. And then I met my first husband on the ship, and we decided to get married, right? So then I was always around him, and we always went places. We always did things together. And then when that marriage failed, when we divorced, this was the very first time I had to discover who Marshaun really is, who I was. So from the time I was born up until I was 27, I was around people constantly. And so I never really had any time to really discover who I was, what I liked, what I disliked, you know? And at 27 is when that began, when that marriage failed. And I was sitting in the house all by myself. And the truth of the matter is this: when I first got divorced and I had to move out and we separated, right? And I moved into my own apartment. This is my very first time being by myself. I never wanted to be alone. I hated being alone because, again, this was now just starting at the age of 27. So I had 27 years of history of always being around somebody at all times. At all times. House full of people, joined United States Navy, went to boot camp all time. On the ship all time. Got married with him all times. And then at 27, I'm like, who out there? That noise too loud. You know how when the house settles and you hear all the crickets and all that stuff that the house be doing at night? Man, no. I remember I slept with this big knife underneath my pillow because I didn't want to bring the gun, even though I actually did have a gun. I didn't want the gun underneath my pillow. I had a big ass knife underneath my pillow. But please hear me. I did not go home until it was time for me to change or to sleep. I did not go home because I didn't want to be alone. I was used to being around somebody at all times of the day. So I had to discover, and for me, I didn't even have to rediscover. I had to discover my independence because I had no idea who I was, what I wanted, what I needed, what I desired. I didn't know any of that. That started me on my personal growth journey, discovering who Marshaun is. So I had to now do things that I wouldn't normally do. I had to go places by myself that I wouldn't normally go. And now at 46, I'm comfortable with going to the movies by myself if I have to. I'm comfortable with taking me out for dinner alone. I'm comfortable. Well, back in the day, I don't do it now, but when I was going to the club, I was comfortable getting dressed, not meeting anybody there, going, dancing, have a good time, and coming back home. But that took a long time for me to be able to do because I didn't know that I liked to do those particular things. So I had to discover Marshaun, and I'm still discovering who I am. I'm still discovering a lot of things that I like because I haven't tried all of the things in the world. So maybe there are some other things that I want to go out and try. Just haven't done it yet. Like camping, like literally going out and putting up my camp and sleeping out there. I want to do that. Haven't done that yet. It's one of the things that I actually want to try and do. I don't know if I'm gonna like it because I haven't done it. Maybe I'll hate it, but I want to at least try it. Right? So discovering who I am. That was one of the lessons that I really had to learn. And that's also one of the lessons that you must learn in order to be in a healthy romantic relationship because until you know who you are, it doesn't matter. It literally does not matter who you attract initially. You will lose the person because you have no clue as to who you are, and you cannot articulate who you are if you don't know who you are. The third lesson is after the relationship breaks up and you feel like you're a failure, when you reflect, this is the operative word, you have to be able to sit and reflect. Now you can understand what your needs are. You can understand that you don't like to be treated X, Y, and Z. You can understand that you don't want this person to do whatever. It may literally just be that you have the 3 to 5 things that you learned in this relationship. I know I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. That one, this last one is kind of tolerable, but I'd rather live without it. Now, when the next person comes around, you know that you have at least 5 things that when these things show up, you run the other way because you've been there, done that before. It didn't feel good before. So why would we go down that road again? And the only reason why you keep attracting the same person over and over again, who's treating you the same way over and over again, is because you have not learned a lesson. You don't even feel like you're worth more, which is why you're accepting the crap. So now you get a chance to understand exactly what your needs are. and then be able to articulate what your needs are. Like, you'll never believe that some of the people that I work with, some of the clients that I work with, I'll ask them what type of relationship that they want, and they really don't even know that. Like, they haven't sat there and thought that. They know that they know that they want to have a relationship, but they don't know if they just want a long-term relationship. They don't know if they just want to stay dating for a while. They don't know if they want to get married. They don't know if they want to be common law. Like, what type of relationship do you want? That's the very basics. You say you want a relationship, but what type of relationship is that? Do you know that? Makes a difference. The fourth lesson that you should learn is how important communication is for every relationship. Every relationship. And understanding how important it is to be open, to be honest, and to be empathetic in your communication. Because a lot of people are not honest, and a lot of people are not open when it comes to communication. Some people, you feel like you are constantly pulling and pulling and pulling the information out of. Like, you'll ask them one question, and instead of them elaborating, they'll just one word you or two words you. It was good. Oh, that's three. It was good. Yeah, it was fine. Good. How was your day? Good. Anything good happen today? Not really. Did you eat lunch with your bestie? Oh, we did. So they not continuing the conversation. They're also not even asking you about your day and how things went. This is when you really figure out how imperative communication is in order for you to feel connected to the person. Because if you're always feeling like you have to pull information out of the other person, that mess gets old real quick. It's tiresome. Communication is all about a give and take. I have to feel like I understand what you're saying instead of having to ask you every single question in order for me to get a clear picture of what happened to you just that day, because that's the simple stuff. If I can't have a simple conversation about your day, then there's no way in Hades I'll be able to have a difficult conversation with you about anything. Before we move any further, let's pay some bills. I am Marshaun Olaniyan. This is Love Restore, and you are listening to Brownstone Worldwide. Listen, it is all about us coming together, being a part of a community, being a part of the neighborhood, coming on the block, having these difficult conversations and or the conversations that we need to have in order to level up our lives. I am just one piece of the puzzle here at Love Restore, talking about your relationship, the relationship with yourself, as well as the relationship with your spouse. I'm one piece of the puzzle, but we have plenty of other pieces that make up the entire cityscape block, the entire block. So download the app, share the episodes that you love with your friends, share them with your loved ones that you know need to hear the information. That way we can get this community out there so more people know about this radio station, so we can continue to put on and be here for our community, where we are showing up and sharing our story our way, because it's important. So if you haven't downloaded the app, download the app. If you have not subscribed to the magazine, subscribe to the magazine, Brownstone Living, where you can keep up with other personalities, keep up with everything that's going on in the community, understand who's actually in the neighborhood and on the block. What are they bringing to the table? How can the information that they're supplying help you in your life? What actions can you take from the information that they are supplying to you? Not only in your dating life, not only in your relationship life with yourself, but also breaking those generational curses through being a better parent, understanding your finances, listening to the music, putting those blended spices to make your food tastier. So being able to show up in this way in a plethora of areas is how we continue to build the community. Again, this is Brownstone Worldwide Cityscape. We here, we out here, and we need for you to spread the word by literally just sharing the episode with somebody that you know needs to hear the information that's here today. Now let's jump back into number 5. What is the 5th lesson? What is the 5th lesson? The 5th lesson that we can learn from our failed relationships is prioritizing ourselves. What does that mean? That doesn't mean just throwing everybody to the wayside. That's not what that means at all. But what it does mean is making sure that you are on your own list. A lot of times, us as Black women have a tendency to nurture and care for everybody. We want to be there for everybody. We feel like it is a must to be there for everybody, and then we forget about being there for us. We forget about prioritizing our needs. And most of the time, we're not even on our own list. Everybody is on our list but us. And by the end of the day, we don't have any more energy for us. Now, is this going to be an everyday thing? It should be, but even if it's not an everyday thing, maybe yours needs to be a weekly thing. Like I have a client right now. She won't answer the phone. She won't answer the door. She does whatever she wants to do one day a week because she works really, really hard. And so she rewards herself with a self-care day, which means staying away from social media. It means staying away from her phone. It means staying away from the TV as much. So if she wants to go out and give herself or take herself to lunch, she does that. If she wants to go get a massage that day, she does that. Whatever self-care routine she has for herself, she dedicates one day to do that. So maybe you can only do it a day. Maybe you can only do it a few hours. But the point is, make sure that you are on your own list. Because anytime we just give and give and give and give, we end up as the depleted one. And everybody is satisfied but you. And you're frustrated. And you don't want to answer the phone anymore. But you still do. But it's because you haven't realized that you need to prioritize yourself. Because you can only give what you got to give. And if you don't have any time to give, you can't give it. If you don't have any energy to give with the time, you can't give it. And you also don't have to say yes to everything to make the other person feel like you're going to be there. You can be there at another time. That person should know how reliable you are by this time. But give back to yourself. Prioritize yourself. Because it's going to make a difference in how you show up. You come back more recharged. You come back with a clearer head. You can come back and do certain things, have more energy to do these things. You can't do that when you are prioritizing everybody. So when the relationship fails, now you can come back and say, I understand what I need. And I'm next relationship, I'm not giving this up. I'm not giving this up. I'm not giving this day up. I'm not giving this block of time up. This is for me. I literally, when I'm working specifically with a mom, especially if she has children that are old enough to understand, don't come in the room if she needs to still be in the home, right? Just in case something pop off, but she still needs that me time. I remember when my daughter was younger, I would go into the bathroom because I love sitting in a hot bath, reading a book, drinking a glass of wine. Love that. So she would stay out. She wouldn't necessarily be happy. As soon as I got finished and opened up the door, her little tail was sitting right at the door, but I was able to go in there and do what I wanted to do, which is really just relax and not hear mommy, mommy, mommy. Because I've heard Marshaun, Marshaun, Marshaun all day. I just don't want to hear my name at all. But chill. But you have to be willing to do that for yourself so you can continuously show up for your loved ones, including but not limited to your spouse, your children, your parents. Maybe you have some ailing parents and they're in the household with you. You still have to find time to give to yourself because research actually shows that the caregiver a lot of times passes away before the person that they are caring for. And a lot of that comes from you not caring for yourself. So don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty by putting yourself on the list. Learn this in every area of your life. I know I'm talking about your romantic relationship, but you have to be able to prioritize yourself in every area of your life. The sixth lesson that you should have learned or can learn is setting boundaries. You have to be able to not only set the boundary, but you also have to be willing to enforce the boundary. Setting boundaries is where you are letting people know the line that they cannot cross. And it is okay. Sometimes you're going to have to do it in the moment. That's okay. Understanding that you're not willing to deal with whatever thing, behavior, action that was taken against you, you have to speak up for yourself. Because if you don't, that's when people lose respect for you and they continue to do the same thing over and over again because it didn't bother you. You didn't speak up about it. So if you don't care about it, why are they going to care about it? The truth of the matter is they're not. And you're going to be the only one that's frustrated and pissed off and like, oh my God, I want to punch this other person in the face. When in fact, you probably should punch them in the face, but don't do that. These, I think I'm on seven. Seventh lesson that will and should be learned is being able to recognize the red flags faster. So you're not wasting a whole lot of time, wasting your pretty, as I say, giving a whole bunch of months and months leading to years and years into decades. Because you recognize the red flag, but you did nothing about seeing the red flag. You didn't nip it in the bud. It could have been setting up, it literally could have just been setting a boundary and enforcing the boundary. Or it could have been you cutting the ties and walking away because 5 years ago, it's better walking away than letting another 10 years go down the drain. So, if and when you learn these seven lessons, you will have a better time of being able to walk into the next relationship and being able to recognize some of the things that was holding you back from getting to the next level in your last relationship. So I'm going to quickly go over them. The first one was rediscovering your independence. The second one was recognizing your relationship patterns. The third one was understanding your needs. The fourth one was the importance of communication, right? The fifth one was prioritizing your needs. The sixth one was setting those boundaries. And the seventh one was being able to recognize the red flags. These are the seven lessons that you can learn after a failed relationship. There are plenty of other lessons out there that can absolutely be learned. These are the seven that I brought here today, but there are plenty of other lessons that can be learned from relationships that don't stand the test of time, i.e., a failed relationship. So don't beat yourself up. Don't judge yourself. A lot of us didn't get the information, the tools, tips, and strategies, so you're not alone. But this is why you're coming here. But I don't want you to just come here and get the information. I want you to do something about it because the only way that you get to change your life around, sis, you got to do something. You have to take some actions. You have to do the difficult thing in order to get the life that you want, the relationship that you want. But here's the thing, it's only difficult when we make it difficult because your gut, your intuition tells you something is not right. But a lot of us push past that feeling for the sake of not being alone and sitting in their stuff and really understanding their root cause or their why they are showing up the way that they are showing up, why they are accepting the behaviors that they're accepting, why they're staying in the toxic relationship that they're staying in, why you revert back to a child. Why don't you want to deal with things head on? There's a lot of things that go on and take place. You have to learn these lessons so you can stop repeating this type of relationship over and over again. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. I am Marshaun Olaniyan. This is Love Restored, and you are listening to Brownstone Worldwide. Cityscapes. Listen, if you want to get in contact with me outside of Love Restored, then you absolutely can do that by going to my website at www.marshauno.com. Again, that's www.marshauno.com. There is my email where you can send me an email. You can sign up for a coaching conversation. You can look at some of my books, including the one that's right behind me right here. I have a plethora of information on there as well as articles and everything else. So go ahead, check out my website, reach out to me if you want to reach out to me. And if you are a Black woman and you want to get more of me outside of Love Restored, then I highly recommend that you join my Facebook group, which is Reasons Why Black Women Love Themselves and Their Man. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next Love Restored.